What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. The market had another wild day today. Stocks fell a ton. We had bad Russia news. We're also going to cover what's going on with some of the earnings that we had today, yesterday, and that we're going to have tomorrow. But guys, the market is wild right now. Roku stock is getting destroyed. Palantir stock is getting destroyed. Apple stock is getting destroyed. Zoom, everything's getting destroyed for the most part. So, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, there was some pretty bad news that actually came out this morning regarding the Russia situation. And we can see that the SPY really sold off today in the middle of the day. And I actually have a really good article here on Fox News, which was one of the only news stations that really reported this in a very clear way, to say it the least. But looking at it, they pretty much said that at a NATO conference Thursday morning, Austin said he had been concerned that Russia might try to stage a false flag operation as an excuse to invade Ukraine, but that the U.S. is not jumping to any conclusions at this time. And he also said that we've been seeing reports of the shelling on some cities over there in Ukraine. Apparently, Russia said, or Ukraine actually tried to blame Russian rebels for this situation. But in the end, it looks like that NATO's coming out and they are saying that Russia might be trying to do a false flag event, but either way, the tensions are not calming down at all, Mike. We can see that the SPY is really down today, and a lot of key tech stocks sold off. We even had Tesla down 5%. It was just a really bad, bloody day in the market.
And then how about Nvidia, Tom? They reported some pretty awesome earnings yesterday, and even they fell 7.5%. So it's like, it kind of worries me a little bit for tomorrow with DraftKings earnings. You guys know I love, and Tom loves DraftKings too, but it's like even some of these powerhouse companies that just blow earnings out of the water, even they're getting destroyed in a lot of cases. So it definitely is concerning, and especially with the Russia-Ukraine situation, like Ukraine is blaming Russia, Russia's blaming Ukraine, and it's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. Everybody's going back and forth, and it seems like some days the market, like yesterday, moved up with some decent news with Russia, and then the very next day they pretty much said that Russia was lying and stuff. So both sides are coming out with some pretty crazy stuff, and it looks like fighting has started. It's never good to see that shells were actually hitting the ground and that rebels were attacking a city or whatever went on, if it was a false flag event or not. Either way, it's just not good to see the violence starting to happen, and the market did not like it at all, selling off in a drastic way. And we had those FOMC minutes yesterday that pushed the market up, and the market just gave all those gains back.
Tom, we are literally in a market right now where we have big earnings going all over the place. We have inflation kind of getting out of control, and then like we have one day Russia saying, "All right, we're pulling some of our troops away from the border," and then the next day it's like we found out that not only are they not removing troops, but they're adding more. So it's like it's such a disaster right now, and the market's all over the place. So with that being said, Tom, like what are the most important levels you're watching with the SPY right now?
Yeah, with the SPY, they actually fell through a huge support this morning at 442. We actually fell below it and then confirmed off of it on the 5-minute chart, and then moved all the way below the 438 support here at the end of the day. I will say 436 is going to be a very key price point to look at for the SPY tomorrow. We can see that we were straddling right around 435 to 436. So definitely eye up those levels as a good support. If we start moving back up, 438 might pose as a bit of intraday resistance, but I would look more at 440 and then 442 after that if we move back up. But I will say that support at 436 is going to be really key. And if we look at this on like a longer term, like 180-day, 1-hour chart, you can really see that if we break below 436, we might start heading all the way back down towards 430 or 427 down there.
Gotcha. Alrighty, so with that being said, let's shift over into some of these earnings plays just a little bit. Roku, Tom, it's not looking too good in after hours right now. Roku closed right around 145, and in after hours, they're down to like 133, and they were as low as 126.
Yeah, they really are. That was a pretty big drop out of them. And I will say the earnings were not bad. We can see that they actually beat on the EPS. They came in with 0.17 versus a 0.05 estimate there. And if we go ahead and look at their article, they have a pretty good earnings report here. They did miss on revenue, which is great, but you can see that it grew 33% year over year, which is pretty good. And then that also, according to the statement, we saw 51% growth in the third quarter and 81% in the second quarter. So I mean, it does look like it's slowing down very slightly, but it's good to see that all the growth is happening with Roku, Mike. And we can see that they have their investor relations statement here, and they have some pretty good stuff. Like they're saying their gross profit was up 74% year over year. That's pretty good. Their platform revenue increased, and their total net revenue was up. So overall, the numbers were pretty good, even though they might be slowing down slightly.
Yeah, so like you said, their numbers were good. It's just they weren't good enough. And we've been seeing this a lot, whether we're looking at Roku or Palantir or Nvidia or whatever. And that is a pretty big concern for me for DraftKings tomorrow. Like we follow DraftKings a ton, and it's like like we're seeing growth out of a lot of companies, but the market's like, we don't care. You're gonna fall anyways. So it's been wild.
Yeah, it really has. And, we've seen a couple of earnings reports go positive, but like for the most part, they've all been like almost straight to the downside. It's been a very unfortunate earnings season, earnings season to see here. And, it seems like that ever since the beginning of this year, Mike, we've just been starting to have some bad news and just bad movement to the downside overall. It's just not a good sign. But I know you were mentioning DraftKings for tomorrow, and I'm really hoping they can turn around. They're starting to really start to tumble off to the downside here at the end of the day, just like a lot of growth stocks were. They ended up down 4%, and it is worrisome. Like if we look at DraftKings on the daily chart here, it looks like they might start tumbling back down to those lows of earlier in the month and all the way back maybe to the end of December. And if we look at it, Palantir had a very similar move like that where they turned over and they fell to the bottom of that range and actually broke below it. So that's my main worry for DraftKings tomorrow is if we do see it turn over, it's not going to be good and it might set up like Palantir.
Yeah, we'll see. It's been a wild market to say the least. And I will say, I love DraftKings for the long term. And I am excited to see the numbers that they report. The past couple of months have been pretty big with all of the sports betting going on, especially out of those new updates that we got from New York. And we even just had like a lot of big events like the national championship, of course, a lot of NFL games. And as we all know, we had the Super Bowl recently.
Yeah, we did. We had that Super Bowl, and then kind of like looking at other earnings reports, Mike, it looks like tomorrow before open, we also have John Deere. So not too many other big ones here to look at besides DraftKings. I will say DraftKings is going to be it's going to be the big player tomorrow morning, and I might even wake up early to watch this one. I know we've been anticipating it for a long time, and I just cannot wait to see how they perform. Like you said, lots of big events have been happening, so hopefully that ended up helping them out. And another good thing is we've seen some of the other hotel and casino stocks do pretty well. I know that like Wynn and LVS were doing pretty good earlier in the week.
True that. And then I just want to switch topics really quickly, Tom, and look at Nvidia just a little bit more. The stock is down 7.5% today, which is pretty big for a company as large as Nvidia. And they did have really good earnings, but I was just curious if you could give everyone some levels on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Nvidia had a crazy week this week. They really consolidated up there at the top after having a pretty explosive move on Monday and Tuesday. I will say they fell off pretty big today as they started to fall below $260. I think that's a pretty big resistance that they ended up breaking. And well, I should say a support that they broke that's now going to pose as a big resistance. So definitely watch 260 for tomorrow. I'm also seeing another big level here right at $250. And it looks like intraday today, they bounced at the lows around 241.50. So we'll have to eye up that low of day today, but they are definitely not looking good. It looks like even as they headed into after hours today, they started turning over just a little bit more. So hopefully this one holds up. And man, I'd love to see the tech sector turn around after such a shaky earnings season.
Absolutely. So I want to shout out our member of the day really quickly, which is Muscle Cars. Huge shout out, Muscle Cars. Thank you so much for all the comments on YouTube. Comments really help us grow our channel, and we really appreciate everyone who leaves a comment down below. It means a lot, and we answer almost every comment. So if you guys have any questions or want us to cover any specific stocks, let us know in the comments down below. But Tom, do you have any final thoughts on the market or any top stocks you're watching?
Yeah, it was really unfortunate to see a lot of growth stocks down today, but I will say we did see some positive movement out of some of the value stocks in the market. Some of the slower movers like Walmart did pretty well. They were up 4%. They reported decent earnings. And, they did say that shoppers are like concerned about prices going up and stuff. But in general, inflation should be helping some of these companies like Walmart as consumer prices go up. We also saw Kraft Heinz have a pretty good move with their earnings, and they're continuing up 3% today. So some of the slower movers were doing a little bit better today. And then also, Mike, we just cannot forget about the gold market. With all this Russia news that's going crazy, gold is also going up in a pretty major way. We can see GLD is up to 177. And I know that whenever these tensions started, like last week or the week before, Mike, we started hitting on gold in a pretty big way. And man, it really went on the uptrend here. It's starting to break out on the daily in a big way ever since we broke 175.
There we go. So if you guys like our videos or if you're new here, please consider subscribing. We post multiple videos every single day. So if you like our videos, definitely consider subscribing. But Tom, we still have to cover these momentum plays for tomorrow. So with the first one, we have AI to the downside.
Yeah, unfortunately, AI just got crushed today and yesterday, but go ahead and make them fall below $22 even.
All right, with the next one, we have Chewy also to the downside.
Yeah, Chewy. I was really hoping to see these guys turn around here, but go ahead and make them break below 45.50. If they break that in pre-market, then make them break 45.
All right, and with the last one, we have AMD also to the downside.
Yeah, this one's pretty good, actually. It kind of was a pretty good play at the end of day as we broke that 113.50 support to the downside. Go ahead and make this one. I would say make them break below, let's just say like 111.70. If they break that in pre-market, then look at 111 even. There is a bit of support at 110 to look out for, but I will say with the way the market's turning over, if it goes red, it might start to sell off in a pretty big way.
Sounds good. So we are watching these 3 plays for potential momentum plays to the downside tomorrow. Basically, if they break below the levels Tom listed, they look like decent day trade setups to the downside. But with that being said, if you guys trade options, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to try out our options trading bot. We can see today the options bot called out the VXX 22 strike calls at $156 each, and it ran all the way up to $219 each. So if you trade options, definitely check out the first link in the description and the comments down below for daily option swing trades, day trades, access to a bunch of other custom bots. You can chat with Tom and myself, and you have access to a great community. You can cancel at any time. We have a coupon running. Of course, the bot does not win every single play, but normally it does pretty well. And today's play went from 156 all the way up to 219 in a couple hours. So definitely check it out. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.